Was that last one recording?
Sure was.
Okay, good.
Yeah, which one do you prefer? Oasis or Blur?
Blur.
What?
Oasis, I mean Oasis.
To find 50 better tunes than this, I think you can do it.
Starts with E minor, Chief.
No, it's not. It's in G.
Well, I should know. I wrote it.
What do you want to hear?
Oasis.
Next song, Slide Away. What more needs to be said about Slide Away? Number 1 on NME's list, which is why, and as I said to you, it is a very good list. I wasn't expecting it to be so good. Manchester Evening News only put it in the top 20, didn't put it in the top 10, which I was a bit surprised and disappointed by. But even the Snark put it in the top 5, and the listeners also. So it seems very strange when you see those kind of ratings for the song, but it's another underrated Oasis song. And as I said, yes, okay, when a song is rated number 1 in a definitive list of all the songs a band creates, it's hard to justify that it's a underrated song. But I mean, in the terms of the general public, if you were to ask the general public to name 10 Oasis songs, you probably wouldn't get them hitting Slide Away. You'd hit the big numbers like obviously Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger and Live Forever, and then maybe some of the other big hit singles. But because this wasn't one of their standout big singles, it sort of gets lost in the maelstrom. But it is, well, it's probably the best love song that Noel wrote. I mean, easily it's the best love song Noel wrote. I would put it in the top 5 Oasis songs of all time. This is the top 50 Oasis songs of all time. But it's Slide Away. And it starts off with that arpeggio guitar, which again shouldn't really feel as transcendent as it does, but just the way it's produced, and again we have to go back to Owen Morris producing the first album, or at least remixing the first album, whatever he did. Even though that's just a pretty standard string arpeggio on the guitar chords, it enthuses it with some unique quality that makes it instantly identifiable. And actually it doesn't start with the arpeggio, it actually starts with that slide guitar, that glissando. And again, one note, it's up there with Chris Demer's Ride On as being possibly the best guitar slide ever, just because it's so identifiable immediately. And when it drops in, you know immediately you're listening to Slide Away. Immediately you're in the groove. And then it follows it up with the lyrics. Now the lyrics are pretty I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't call them Noel's best work, but they're very far from his worst work as well either, if you know what I mean. And they are very self-explanatory, and they tell the story of somebody, well, as the NME put it, just the journey of an infatuation with somebody, or a relationship with somebody you very much care about. If you ever want to slide away to that kind of tranquility. Look at that, it's like glass. So I was researching Slane Castle gig in 1995, where Oasis, an absolute phenomenon in Ireland in the mid-90s. And so for them to get the Slane gig, I suppose it would have seemed pretty obvious at the time. R.E.M. was the headliners, and R.E.M. obviously had 5 years of being one of the biggest bands in the world at that point, so that made sense. But then Oasis got the second banner headline. What turned out though was that 2 people tried to cross the river at Slane, the Boyne River. Slane Castle's on a great little amphitheatre And the stage down at the bottom. Now, it might have been designed differently back then. And the castle's on the right hand side as you look at the stage. But just behind the stage there's a river, and it's a very wide river. It's the Boyne River, where the infamous Battle of the Boyne happened in 1690. You might have heard of that from Trainspotting 2. Yeah, so 2 people tried to swim across it to get into the gig for free, and they actually drown, which is obviously not something that you want to hear about. And it turns out that those were the 3rd and 4th people to have drowned trying to cross Slane. But they switched things up. They cancelled the concert for 3 years, and they switched up the way the layout, which is why I'm not sure if it's still laid out the way I know it from having been there in the 2000s. You can check out my acting and my podcasting, Father Ted podcast, and just a lot of my other stuff. Acting, podcast, other stuff.